Hello and good night. Once again, we are on another edition of 40 Hour. Welcome to 40 Hour. My name is Edison Thomas. I will be your host / moderator for this afternoon. I hope you had a wonderful Monday, and I hope that you have a productive rest of your week. Today, we will be paying tribute to one of our beloved luminaries in Tobago. And we speak of none other than Dr. Jefferson Davidson. Recently passed on. Dr. Jeff, as he was affectionately called, was the second chairman, we want to say chairman, of the Tobago House of Assembly, serving in 1986. And his term would have came to an end in 1990. The second chairman serving after the well-known Mr. A.N.R. Robinson, all right? Dr. Jeff came on as the chairman of the THA when Mr. Robinson assumed his role as Prime Minister of the country of Trinidad and Tobago, all right? And so tonight we pay tribute to him, all right? Dr. Jeff was a public service luminary. He was an educator. I am hearing tonight he was a sportsman, and also he was a leader, ultimately, all right? Hailed from Roxborough. He passed away at the age of 95, all right? He received, in 2023, the Tobago Medal of Honor, gold, and also in 2015, he would have received the Public Service Medal of Merit, gold, all right? So we are speaking about a very accomplished person in public service, in public life, and tonight we pay tribute to him. And tonight we have to pay tribute to him and remember his name and his legacy. We have on the set with us Mr. Nathaniel Moore, who was a former MP for Tobago East, as well as a senator in the Trinidad and Tobago Parliament. We also have Mr. Regis Caruth, who is a former assemblyman of the Tobago House of Assembly. We have joining us virtually Miss Miriam Caesar Moore, former assemblyman of the Tobago House of Assembly as well. And we also have Mr. Cecil Caruth, who would have been also a part of the assembly. All right? So gentlemen and lady, good night. Miss
Good night.
Caesar Moore, are you hearing me?
Mm-hmm.
Miss Caesar Moore?
Yes, are you hearing me?
All right, yes, we are hearing you and seeing you clearly.
Yes. Okay.
All right, good night.
So good night. Good night again. Good night.
How are you doing? How are you doing?
Very good, very good.
All right. Okay, so we want to start off with the guests that we have in studio. I want to ask you guys, what was your first encounter with Dr. Jeff? Right? Your first, if you could remember, if you could go back to that time when you first met Dr. Jeff, what was your first impression of him? I'm going to start with you, Mr. Curry.
All right, thank you. And good night to the listening audience. My name is Regis Caruth, as the moderator mentioned. Now, I cannot remember the first time I met Dr. Davidson because I grew up in the same street that he came from.
In Roxborough?
Roxborough, Prince Street, Roxborough. And he and my older siblings, they were good friends. In other words, the families were very close.
Right.
His father and my father were the best of friends. You know, they cut each other hair and that kind of thing, you know what I mean? And his parents stayed for some of my older siblings.
Okay.
As well as my father was his godfather.
Right.
And there's a story that is told, you know, that when he came back from university, he wasn't going to church. My father observed that his godson, which was there, wasn't going to church. So he pulled him up. He said, "You're back here, you have to go to church." And from the next Sunday, I understand, Jeff was most diligent at church.
Right.
In other words, he heard what his godfather had to say.
Right.
We grew up calling his parents his father, godfather. That's how our family called related to them.
Okay.
And his mother, we call her Nendi. D stands for Davidson, Nen Davidson, but Nendi. So you see
gotcha.
the closeness of the family, okay? So I grew up looking at Jeff as a big brother.
Okay.
I never call him Jeff in front of his face, Dr. Davidson. Or sometimes Doc. You know, that sense of respect.
Right.
I looked at him as a big brother, and I think he looked at me as a little brother as well, because ever so often I used to check him, more so when he had that lab at Sangster's Hill. Sometimes I would just drop in, I might say, Doc, I'm a bit busy, I just come to see your face, how you and your wife going, and I go on my way.
Right.
And sometimes I would sit and we'll chat, you know, talk about politics and, you know, how Tobago is going and that kind of thing.
Okay.
So I cannot remember the first time I met him.
Because
I grew into him.
Yeah, you grew up around him in the same
Precisely.
street and everything like that.
Yeah, same
so
street.
that
And
would
the
be very hard
families
to
were very
recall
close. Very, very close.
All right. So, Mr. Moore, can you remember your first interaction with Dr. Jeff?
I can't say I remember, to be honest. But the first I remember of him, he came to my primary school. He actually taught. You didn't mention that in your introduction. But
Yeah, I said he was an educator.
Oh, that's right.
Okay.
Oh, I guess I have this idea of a teacher in my music educator. Yes, he came to my school and he taught there. I don't think he actually taught me, my class. In the primary school, you know, we have a teacher assigned to a class or so.
Right.
And not like in the secondary school, we deal more with the subject.
Right.
So I don't think I was in his class at all. In fact, I didn't spend very much time with him at school. I think it was in my, let me call it senior, or those years at school. And I left shortly. I left him there. And I don't know how long. I have a mind he did not spend much time in Charlottesville Methodist. That's where it was.
Methodist, okay.
Yeah, he didn't spend much time. But that is the first time I met him. But from looking almost military, in those days, well, a big man could be a boy too if you look at him with his dress, where dress was concerned. Because not only he, but other of my male teachers used to wear short pants with what we call a tall hose reaching right under the knee.
Tall boots?
Under the knee. No.
The pants?
The hose.
The socks.
Socks.
Oh, right,
Socks.
right,
the
right,
woolen.
right.
The woolen.
Yeah, you pull up the socks real high.
Right up to the
Under the
just
knee.
under the knee. I think he had shining brown shoes. I remember that. And he was really fit.
Right.
Fit, but as I was chatting with Regis a while ago, he told me that he was a sportsman.
Sportsman,
so he kept very fit. But that is the impression I got of him first. Right? After that, we met more, I think it's in politics.
Okay. All right. Miss Caesar Moore.
Yeah. Well, I see you all went to the social aspect in Rockmore. You went to Mr. Moore with the educational aspect. Now, I met him strictly in politics. As a matter of fact, himself and he and A.N.R. Robinson were like mentors, because the first time I met him was when we contested the elections in 1984, and I served 84 to 88. I served all that time with him. During that time, A.N.R. Robinson was Mr. A.N.R. Robinson was the chairman up to 1986, and then Dr. Jeff Davidson took over in 86, as you mentioned. What I remember about him is that I like his giggle, the way he laughed. He had his funny way of laughing, cracking a joke, and he was always humble, very humble, very down to earth. You wouldn't think that he carried the title of a doctor, and was very educated in the area of animal husbandry, and also, and things he used to tell me about what he studied in school. I am sorry that he never had a chance in Tobago. Maybe he did put some of those into action, but he wanted to do more. And I know I remembered him because of his acumen, his level of knowledge and also his joviality.
All
Very
right.
jovial.
All right. Thank you, Miss Caesar Moore. Thank you. All right. So some sparkling remarks coming from the panel here about Dr. Jefferson Davidson. All right. I wanted to ask this though. What I realize that we have from that east side of Tobago, we just have a number of public life luminaries coming out of that side, coming from Charlottesville, coming from Roxborough, Belgarden, coming down the road. What it is about that side that produces such political talent? What is it from that side? I'm always intrigued to know what kind of upbringing or all of that is coming from that side of Tobago that produces such political acumen. You can answer that for me, Mr. Carrot?
Well, if I might say, our home was we always discussed politics in our home, right? Those days, my mother and father, they were, of course, P&M and so on, you know? And then when I came out of UE and I had a different perspective of the development path that Trinidad and Tobago was on, I could not, and you know how Tobago was being treated, so to speak, in terms of the politics, so to speak, and the whole economic arrangement, I had to, switch side. You follow? So there always used to be that kind of discussion between my mother, father, and myself. And even my bigger brothers. I had a bigger brother. He was a very much a political animal. His name was Otis Carrot. He was Robinson's right-hand man, so to speak. Then I have Cecil, another brother, who is also very political.
Yeah.
So I grew up in that kind of milieu.
Right.
And if I might mention, I remember during the time of Dr. Eric Williams, when he comes to Roxborough, the courtyard, that used to be the meeting place, where public meetings used to be held.
In Roxborough?
Yes.
Okay, so I can get it, I understand now.
Yes, he used to call Roxborough the University of, I think, Woodford or something like that. Because the people in Roxborough were very, very, very political and aware of what is happening. And are very outspoken as well. So that is the situation as far as Roxborough is concerned and the environs. I know Brother Moore would talk about Charlottesville.
No, well, indeed, your question is, you find that the people from Tobago East, a lot of them served in public life and so on.
Yes.
Well, I find so myself.
Yes.
Right? And I don't know if I could give you a reason, but one thing I know that we had the people in Tobago East, I think up to now we could still say we have it, a certain amount of independence. Right? Because you'd find a lot of fellas there, they would be farmers and fishermen. And we didn't have the opportunities there to, or we didn't have the
resources?
No, that is not the word I wanted to use. Anyway, we didn't have any public structure there to employ advanced educators. So we had to move out when we got the thing. So we moved out and we were educated. But we didn't have the opening right there to give expression to our education. So you'll find us in Trinidad, you'll find us down here, and so on. Because I myself, the thought came tempting me once, because I check, like the people in the political life in Tobago, most of the outstanding one in leadership were from Tobago East.
We're from the East, yes. And I made that notice. I noticed that as well.
Does that give credence to the fact that the wise men came from the East?
Yeah, it could be. It could be. Or it's something in the food or something they're eating up there.
And I want you to remember as well the Belmana riots of Roxborough. The people there were very political. They didn't stand any nonsense. So I don't know if it's the blood still in us.
Right.
You see?
Well, we have to take a short break. When we come back, we continue with Ms. Caesar Moore. And if she has a question, has an answer to the question, she could continue that. But stay tuned, we'll be right back.
Everybody only worrying. Never ever worry, don't mind how things looking hard. I tell them never ever worry, if your life can't get damaged bad. I tell them never ever worry, what I'm saying is true. So just consider, Tatil is always right here for you. I tell them never ever worry, don't mind if life make you sad. I tell them never ever worry, if your house get flooded out real bad. I tell them never ever worry, what I'm saying is true. So just consider, Tatil is always right here for you. I tell them never ever worry, if sickness catch you off guard. I tell them never ever worry, if times fall on you real hard. I tell them never ever worry, what I'm saying is true. So just consider, Tatil will always be here for you. Never worry about a thing. Tatil, where people are people. You know what I mean.
This is how it's gonna go. They better look up below, 'cause this is your show, and everybody's gonna know. Say it to them once again. They better look up below. This is your show, and everybody's gonna know. That's how it's gonna go. They better look up below, 'cause this is your show.
October will never be better with Tobago Carnival fever. Book your passage and come on over.
All right, and we're back. Thanks for staying with us. We continue remembering Dr. Jefferson Davidson on tonight's program. And joining us also, we have Mr. Cecil Carruth, who was also involved in the assembly. All right, so good night, Mr. Carruth.
Good night,
Good to have you on the panel tonight.
Good night, everyone.
All right. We left off with Miss Caesar Moore. Miss Caesar Moore, I wanted to pitch a question to you as well. What you think going on in the East that they have the East producing such political luminaries?
Well, let me tell you, not only political luminaries, because I'm married to someone from the East, okay, from Shadowville specifically. I think, like any other village, if you put Shadowville with the other village and compare them, you'll see that Shadowville especially produced more men and women with tertiary level, up to tertiary level, and even I would say, your tertiary level education. A lot of people, a lot of educated people are from Shadowville. And I think it's because they found themselves in an environment that was sort of like cut off from the normal happenings. And so they, I guess, emboldened themselves to study. They know they had to do better than the rest because they have to travel so far every day to go to school and that type of stuff. So I think it's a will. They were determined to be luminaries. Imagine if you count the number of doctors now that came from Shadowville, I think it's more than any other village today. So that's one. The next thing some people say the fish. Some people say the fish breeze and the cool breeze and stuff. But remember, Buku people ate the same fish, ate more fish than Shadowville. Yet you have. So I think it is the will of the people and their determination. Even in hard work, going to the garden, getting up, have to go to the garden, and so they were determined from very early to get out of there and make a good life for themselves.
All right. Doing my research, right, on Dr. Jefferson, I realized that, like myself, he was a person who championed the cause of Tobago ultimately getting its autonomy. All right? And I mean, it was kind of, let me just say, enlightening to know that this fight has been taking place since long before my time. All right? Since long before I was born, this fight has been taking place. And Dr. Jefferson was one of the persons, as well as some of the persons here, well, the people here on this panel, were championing that fight along with Dr. Jefferson. Let's get some insight about what the cause was. What are some of the battles that you had to face with Dr. Jeff in trying to get Tobago to realize its destiny in reaching its self-government? So I'll go to you, Mr. Cecil Carruth, first.
Oh, you're asking me that question?
Yes, I'm asking you the question. What were some of the battles that you all had to go through with Dr. Jeff?
Well, it was well known that Tobago was the food basket, they used to say, of Trinidad and Tobago.
Okay.
So we used to produce cocoa, coconut. What we used to do, we husk the coconut, we dry the coconut, we put them in a bag and send the coconut to Trinidad.
To Trinidad.
The kernel or whatever it is. So that is what we used to do. And then, unfortunately, in Tobago, the education of our children was kind of a primary activity.
Okay.
Everybody was aware of it. We were deprived in a lot of ways.
Right.
Dr. Davison, since we're talking about him, was one of the fortunate ones who was able to get a scholarship to go to Trinidad. He was a very smart guy.
Yeah.
And he had his business well organized. His father, his mother, they were all on to bringing up children in a way that they will grab an opportunity for advancement in their life. And Dr. Davison is one of those people who did grab that opportunity.
Okay.
And he didn't get that opportunity just like that. It was fostered in the home.
Right.
And this is good.
Yes. That's somebody.
And we used to talk about, I don't know if Reg talked about it, we used to talk about Prince Street. Prince Street had a lot of shining stars in those days.
And I realized that.
Everybody in Prince Street wanted to be of some quality and to make some contribution to the development of the island. Who was not a nurse was a teacher. Who was not a teacher was a policeman or something like that. But you get involved in something.
I would love to see a street like that today. I would love to see a street like that in Tobago today. Mr. Regis, any struggles or political battles you could have faced with Dr. Jeff while you were in office or while you were coming up in office?
I had no political battle with him.
No,
But I was in the battle for Tobago being treated equally.
Yes.
Right? And today I was quite fortunate to put my hand on one of his books. Because he was an author, a researcher, author, whatever. All right? And he wrote a book, A Chronicle of the Tobago House of Assembly.
Right.
And I would just like to quote.
I should get my hands on one of those
I
copies.
think each person, each home should have a book like this. And he had moved a motion in the House of Assembly. If I might just listen. I'll just tell you the caliber of the person. Be it resolved that this House of Assembly take all proper and necessary steps to terminate the present unjust union of Tobago with Trinidad, and to secure either its replacement with a union based on terms and conditions acceptable to the authorized representatives of the people of Tobago,
Right.
or the full independence of Tobago with secure territorial boundaries.
Right.
Now, these are very serious motion, eh?
Yes.
Very encompassing. And if I might just go a little further, Mr. Robinson commenting on that motion, he said, I want to say that I have been, this is Mr. Robinson speaking, quote, that I have been a member of the Parliament of the West Indies. I have been a member of the Trinidad and Tobago Parliament. Now I am a member of this house, which is referring to the Tobago House of Assembly. And I want to say that the conduct was one that I have never seen before in any of the parliaments that I have been a member. And I must say, this motion is one where I have confidence. I would like once more to commend Dr. Davidson, the mover of the motion. So that gives you an idea of the caliber of the guy.
Yes. Yes.
He was there for Tobagonians and the assembly to be respected by those on the other side. You know what I'm talking about.
Right.
All right? And that is what he stood for. And he stood for that. He held that position right until, I think, his demise. His death.
Right. Right. I 100%, I'm getting that sentiment from everybody I speak to. All the news articles that I read, all the stuff that I read about him, that, again, he was that champion. Again, in his core, he wanted to realize that self-governance, that ability for Tobago to be able to direct its own path and reach its own destiny without outside interference.
Because, you see, what has happened up to now, we are still shackled by the cabinet in Trinidad, you know, under that 75(1) of the Constitution.
Right.
You understand? We don't have our way here.
Let's pitch it to Miss Caesar. Yeah. Miss Caesar Moore. Mrs. Moore?
She gone?
Are you here? No, I'm here.
Yes, we're hearing you.
Yeah. When you think about terms like internal self-government and Tobago's right to its destiny, imprinted or around all those would be A.N.R. Robinson, Jeff Davidson, people like Nathaniel Moore, and think about Murphy. These guys, I took up a folder that I took from Murphy years ago, and in the whole front of it is marked internal self-government for Tobago. And if you read those articles and you read the submission, you wonder why we haven't reached further in 2023. So, but I'm going to leave it to you younger ones who would now read the history and see that people like Dr. Davidson fought very hard. There's not one, he never gave in, never switched side, always on that march for Tobago's autonomy. And I'm sorry that he has died without us realizing that full dream, that dream. But I guess those coming after, those in the assembly now, would work hard to make it happen.
All right. And so on that note, we'll have to take another break. When we come back, we'll continue discussing honoring Dr. Jefferson Davidson. Stay tuned, we'll be right back.
Welcome to Limage Parfait Day Spa, your urban oasis and wellness center. Our services includes massages, treatments, facials, pedicures, weight management, detox programs, and much more. Call us today at 624-1452 or 720-7474. Trinidad locations and Bonacore, Tobago at 273-7772. Let us treat you like the VIP you are.
You can now get whatever you need whenever you need it anywhere in Tobago with Tapago. Your meals, medication, groceries, and shopping all delivered directly to you. No more hassle, no more stress. Get the Tapago app today on Google Play or Apple App Store.
That's TAPPOGO and let us deliver to you.
Check our website at www.tapogo.app or call the experts at 494-TOGO and 484-4746. Tapago. Relax. We will get it to you. Tapago's at your service.
It's a different type of thing down there. And we party till we drop down there. With a lot of pretty girls down there. Down in Tobago.
The best place to stay in Tobago is at Thorns Place with rates starting as low as 200 TT. Call or WhatsApp 745-7306 or 682-8676. We are located uptown Scarborough, 5 minutes away from the port. Remember, at Thorns Place, our aim is to make your stay safe and affordable.
All right, and we're back with For the Hour for tonight, and we continue the discussion on remembering Dr. Jefferson Davidson. All right, former chairman of the Assembly, serving from 1986 to 1990. All right, conferred the Tobago Medal of Honor Gold. All right, and the Tobago, the National Award for Awarding Public Service Gold as well in 2015. So we continue the discussion with Dr. Jeff being a champion for Tobago's economy, and we kind of get the consensus that he passed on without realizing his ultimate dream for Tobago. And I wanted to put to every panelist, and this is something very near and dear to my heart as well as Dr. Jeff's, and I wanted to put it to the panel. Do you, in your opinion, think that Tobago can realize this dream at some point? All right? You go ahead, Mr.
I'd wanted to join the wrong that came there.
Well, you could go ahead. You could go ahead.
You're in the same vein. But I want to tell you that indeed, as Mrs. Caesar Moore said, it was a part of the being of Dr. Jeff. From the time we started the education of Tobago to understand what internal self-government is, and to tell them he was striving toward that. Dr. Jeff was involved. And to me, that motion that Regis read a while ago was almost the highlight of it. You could see how the man was thinking. He was thinking that time was going by and we were not making the progress we ought to make.
Right.
And he was ready.
Even at that time.
He reached the stage where he decided, look, even though Trinidad doesn't want us, we could leave them and stay by ourselves. Because he decided to stay with them with good, with assurance that our borders and so on would have been clear.
Respected, yeah.
Right? And that we had this mutual respect between us. Oh, let's go. Right? And people who get enthused by the idea of internal self-government to Tobago would pass through that. Because I can't tell you how I feel now as an individual about that. Being one of those who were there from the start.
Right.
Because we who sit here, there are a lot of people outside talk about internal self-government. And we are glad that they embrace it, because at first it was a total rejection by the PNM government that was in power at the time. They didn't want it. In fact, the campaign saying we don't need it and so on, but all kind of reasons why we didn't need it. We had to sell the idea of internal self-government to Tobago.
To Tobagonians.
Right? We sold it. And we reached to the stage now where Tobago has accepted the idea that we deserve internal self-government. And some people who opposed it now, you know, like a religion, they have accepted, they are converted. And as new converts, they more zealous than you who were there from the start.
True.
But some of them do not have the endurance.
Yes.
Because they seem to be buckling as the detractors, let me use that word, a nice word, detractors, those people who don't believe in internal self-government,
right,
and who control things and could work with you to get it, or detractors. They seem to be playing games with Tobago now.
Yeah.
Right? And with the pressure they're putting on Tobago, some of the people who are now coming on the scene would ask themselves, why are we going through the pressure to get this thing? Is this thing so good after all? I guess if they realize how much work was put in
before,
right, to get us accept the idea of internal self-government in Tobago, they would not give up and they would help work with it.
Right.
So I would say that Dr. Jeff perhaps reached a stage almost of frustration.
Right.
And again, perhaps he saved his position now, save him further heartache. Because I will have to sit, and we here will have to sit and see the games that they are playing now with this internal government.
And endure some more.
Yeah, because they don't seem to be serious. Those people in central government, and mainly some people in Trinidad, not serious about the internal government for Tobago.
Right.
Clearly, the governments, those leading parties, not interested. They're just using it as a football to try to set Tobago people against one another and to, I don't know what about themselves. But I'm hoping that the effort that Dr. Jeff put in and some of us who worked with him wouldn't go to waste, and people would understand that we do need better than we are given from the national, the table, right, of the national. I don't know if it's banquet or what you call it. We're eating at the table, and what we're getting is not fairly
Mr. Cecil,
adequate for us.
I wanted you to chime in here. Our push for internal self-government, obviously, Dr. Jeff was our champion. But do you think that he would not be here to realize that dream, but you think that we realized that dream at one point?
For me, I think it's a very sad moment that he has passed. That we didn't make a larger step towards internal self-government for Tobago. Because too many things about Tobago are still decided or influenced by the Trinidad's understanding of what the people in Tobago want.
Right.
Now, if we are to get proper internal self-government, steps must be taken that a lot of the situation, like the agricultural programs, must be manned and financed by the Tobago House of Assembly. And the Tobagonians must buy in to these ideas of development. They cannot continue to think that Trinidad is there to give us what we want. We have to be there to fight for it.
True.
Dr. Davison understood that.
Right.
I give you an example. We must educate our people in the technological aspects of things. We must give them a hope that they can get their degrees and trained in Tobago and pass on the knowledge and bring up those students or whoever it is, those young ones, to benefit from the hard work.
Right.
My dear son, I can call you son.
Yes, no problem.
This internal self-government, I remember Robinson shared it, Natty shared it, Regis shared it. that we must get the technical know-how to get us forward. And our people must believe it.
Right.
Let me give you an example. When we put up the Tech Buck wing at Signal
Hill.
that was to give Tobago a chance to train its mechanics, its skilled people, its technicians. I don't want to knock anybody, I'm trying not to do that. We introduced at that time 5 technical subjects, including sewing for ladies and men too, including graphic arts for men too, including mechanics and so on. If you go to Signal Hill today, you listen to me? If you go to Signal Hill today, try to see how those departments are functioning. We continue to set a pattern of establishing branches of a University of Tobago in different parts of Tobago. You don't see anything. It's only the hotel school
Yeah. That's still up here.
that has something going. But we need more than that. We have to train our people. And the next thing, we have to bring in our people from outside. Dr. Davison was one who shared that view that we have to bring in our own people
From the diaspora.
because they would be committed. What we are seeing, people are coming in. Yes, they're coming in. That's good. They want to do the thing. Yes, they want to do the thing. That's good. But let them do it in the interest of the national, those natives of Tobago. And this is one thing I'm sure Dr. Davison would have wanted to see. And let me say this, I wasn't able to say this. My heart grieved for his passing. Although I know he's getting weaker and weaker, it grieves. And all of us had to pass through the same thing. You had to pass through it, you had to pass through it. So leave your mark. Leave your mark.
If I might just jump in here.
Go ahead, go ahead.
Shifting because I realize time is going up. Now, Dr. Davison
is flying
served
by.
for about 20 years. Chairman, deputy chairman, presiding officer.
Presiding officer, yes.
And he's no longer in the assembly. He's passed now. But what I'm saying, he had never gotten a pension. He survived barely on this national insurance which they pay on the NIS. And that is unfair because I'm saying that the government, the central government, passed probably last year or year before a bill or an act whereby parliamentarians, judges, and whatnot, their salary, they have enhanced pensions.
Yeah.
Whereas past assemblymen have nothing, especially like me.
Right.
I served for 12 years.
Wow.
And nothing. You understand? We have written to the Prime Minister, the who is the next person, the Attorney General, and we have gotten no response. The point I'm making is that Dr. Davison served faithfully, diligently, right? And what next?
Let me cut in on you. I want to join you on that point.
Yes.
A funeral is a very expensive
endeavor
activity. And I believe, I'm not telling them to do it, you know. They must be moved by compassion that they should try. How many years he served?
20 years. He was there from
The
1980.
assembly people should try to foot the bill for his funeral. And I'm
He
not
should have a state
begging.
funeral. He should have a state funeral.
I am not, you said it, I am not begging. We should learn to honor our people, even when they die.
I agree with you 100%.
I say no more. And Regis has made a point, which has been beaten around for the longest while. They're not getting nothing, no pension, no nothing. I guess Anne give his home. She's not well now. I just give you an example. She was, you know, Dr. Davis was a presiding officer.
Yeah.
She was a presiding officer. Her husband had to fight up. Everybody at the Battle of Canoe, Tobago should show the difference.
Okay.
It's not a giving handout. You must show the difference.
And they have the legislative authority to do it.
To do it, yes. They do.
Human feeling, human attitude. All those ministers and representatives of the government could go anywhere in the house, in the legislature. They could go anywhere, maybe of their choice. Natty, you could stop me for medical attention.
They do go anywhere. I don't know say they could, but they do.
Right.
Funded by the government.
Yeah, by the state.
Yeah.
So we'll have to take one more break, guys, and we'll come back. When we come back, we'll wrap up the discussion on remembering Dr. Jefferson Davidson. We'll be right back. Stay tuned.
If you see or know about a crime, report a crime safely and anonymously. Call 800-TIPS. Help stop crime. You can play your part safely and anonymously. Report a crime. Earn a reward. Call 800-TIPS. Help stop crime. Be a hero. Champion. Fearless citizen. Be a crime stopper safely and anonymously. Call 800-TIPS. Help stop crime.
All right, and we're back, and we're wrapping up the discussion on remembering Dr. Jefferson Davidson. We want to go to Miss Caesar Moore. Miss Caesar Moore, you hearing us?
Yeah, and I just want to piggyback on what the gentleman before me was saying about the inequity between Trinidad and Tobago, with the Parliament in Trinidad and Tobago and the Tobago House of Assembly. It is so grievous to hear these things, to see that icons, people who gave their sweat and blood to establishing that Tobago House of Assembly, are now so disappointed in not even getting what is due them because of the red tape and also the bureaucracy. Why should that happen? Why should it be that they have to be begging for their pension, begging for something? And this is one of the adversity that the Tobago, the internal self-government, would take care of. So when you asked the question before about what do we think we are going to see that before we or the end of our life here on earth, I think we are. I'm very positive about that, but I know they're putting a lot of roadblocks and they're trying to destabilize so that it will never come to fruition. But I think with young guys, young people like you, I'm not saying you per se, but your age group and the assembly that's there now, what they should do is to tap into resources like myself, Mr. Carruth, the Carruths, Mr. Moore, Stanley Beard, and these people who have something to offer because we were the one that laid the foundation. And I wish they would speak to us so we can give them some motivation. If maybe we don't have the legal terms to give them, but some motivation to help them push this thing forward. Because if that is not done, some of them would end up just like we did. Thank you. But I just want
Was so
say I just want to say that I also mourn Dr. Davidson's passing. I just learned about it this evening, and was very it sent me back to my records to read up all those good things we did in the assembly, and I wish the family my condolences from my family, and I guess from the people of Tobago, they're going to give their condolences. But as for a funeral that is befitting him, I support that 100%, paid by the Tobago House of Assembly.
Ms. Moore, before we move on, do you remember some of the things, some of the major achievements that you all would have gotten done while Mr. Davidson was under his leadership or during his tenure?
Time doesn't permit now, but I want to tell you that he was so astute. Dr. Davidson was not only in politics, his educational background, his acumen that he wanted to offload on Tobago. We never had that opportunity because always short of fund, always had to be begging and all that. And you shouldn't have that with stalwarts like these people who gave their life for Tobago. And I'm saying that the present assembly, and I'm going to put it out there boldly, they should talk to us a little more. Find out what made us tick. What made us having only $2,000 a month or $1,500 a month from 1980s and stuff, and still existed, still will go to work all day long with no offices, no place of accommodation, with the chairman being treated as though he's a public servant. And I say that wrong should be righted, and it takes people like us who know about it and who were in it to do something about it, coupled with the people who are willing to listen to us. Thank you.
All right. Funny enough, we were discussing back in the day with the condition under which the assemblymen had to work with the small salaries, and the salaries now are multiple times more than what the former assemblymen were getting, even the budgets that you all had to work with. But I guess back in the day, to take little and make much, right? I think that's one of the things Tobagonians know how to do very well. I'm sure at that point in time, Dr. Davidson, working within the constraints, would have been able to achieve what he was able to achieve, even though he had all. Do you have any words of advice, for, let's say, the up-and-coming leaders, right? Given the constraints that we have and given the goals we want to achieve, do you have any words that you want to give them tonight, if you want to give them a word on behalf or even in the spirit of Dr. Davidson? You want to speak, Mr. Cecil?
I was thinking that I don't want to mash anybody corn.
Mm-hmm.
Tobagonians have shown, was it in December the 6th,
Mm-hmm.
a kind of awareness of what should be done in Tobago and for Tobago and by Tobagonians.
Mm-hmm.
Communicating as much as you can with everybody. I remember in the days, I can hardly separate them, of Dr. Davidson and Mr. Robinson.
Mm-hmm.
They were always communicating with the people.
Right.
The people know where you're going.
Right.
You don't throw things on the people just like that. They're not ignorant. You need to let them buy in to what you're doing. And if you don't do that, you're going to get somewhere. But you'll be in space by yourself.
Because the people will
But
be
you want to
following
be
you.
there with the people. When Robinson, I give this example, and Dr. Davis was there, when he brought in this question of internal self-government, and when he brought in this question of getting boats, the communication, getting the airport, getting the port going, all of that is in the development of Tobago. What do we have springing off of those things, the facilities? We're still developing the airport, but we need to use it to the optimum level. Don't wait until it's done. We're still developing the port. Use it optimally. Don't wait until somebody else come and with a brainwave and they're giving you this and that to do. Agriculture can be boosted. What are you doing? You had a specific plan to boost agriculture. I was in a far place like Castara, Bloody Bee, and you see the wonderful forest reserve. It is the oldest in the, Mr. Mo, you're a historian. Regis, you're a historian too. It is the oldest forest reserve.
In our hemisphere.
That's correct. It's when? 1776? I can't remember.
300 years old.
Huh?
300 years old.
300 years. I thought it was 1776, but that is almost 300. If I say so. It's almost 300. That forest, what can we do with it? Yes, a few people going there. But you need to establish something, some real attraction coming from that forest reserve.
Right. Right.
And listen, I want to talk a whole time and leave me.
Sometimes we have to beg for time.
Yeah, man, I had to beg for time. Anything else you want to add, Mr. Regis?
Well, when I drive around Tobago, I find too many young men remain idle on the side of the road. And we cannot build a country like that.
We need more Prince Streets.
Yeah?
We need more Prince
Yeah,
Streets.
well, even Prince Street is creeping into Prince Street now.
Street is going down, eh?
Yeah, it's creeping in.
Oh, wow.
That's why I'm saying among the young, most of the young guys, and people need to be trained there. No, because since I was in the assembly, I represented Roxwood Alaford sometime. And, the guys would come, I want a work. And what kind of work you want? Watchman. Cleaner work. Even though people have to be trained to, get proper paying jobs.
Right.
And you put all the training programs there and they don't grasp at it.
Right.
You understand? China, which is now a world power, what China did, they trained their people. They invited multinational corporations, those big corporations, making aircrafts and so on. But one of the things is that they have to transfer the technology.
Yes, they train the people.
So, you understand what I'm saying? If we have to move forward in the 21st century, we have to change our attitude. And let us do that for Dr. Davidson.
For Dr. Davidson's
Yes,
sake, right?
precisely.
Obviously, again, champion for Tobago's autonomy.
Can I say this? It
Quickly,
wouldn't be hard to
before we
say.
finish. Yeah, go ahead.
I want to confess, I'm a protege of Dr. Davidson.
I do think I got a confession.
When I say protege, he has influenced me in a lot of ways. His lifestyle, his humility, his brilliance. And he never imposes his ideas on you.
Right.
He will argue sometimes, loud to like anybody else, but he never imposes his ideas on you. He grooms you.
Right. And that's a teachable heart. That's someone who has a heart of a teacher. The education is not forced against you.
Yeah.
But the ideals are so idealistic. You want to follow. You want to be like that person. And I'm glad to know, and I'm glad coming out of this conversation tonight, that Dr. Jefferson was indeed that kind of person. We will indeed miss him.
Sure.
All right. I hope, it is my hope, that the Assembly takes the necessary steps to honor that man's legacy and his effort in public life and what he has, the indelible mark that he left in the public sector in Tobago. All right, but gentlemen, lady on the call, we have to call it a night for tonight. Again, we out of time. We could again assure the gentlemen
Can I say
here.
good night to Miriam?
Yes, you can.
Tell Miriam to come home. We need her home. Okay?
Yes.
Good night.
You should come home.
Come home. Come home.
Okay.
Come home. That's my neighbor, you know.
All right. So, Dr. Jefferson, we thank you for your service. We will miss you in Tobago public life. And Tobagonians, let's take some time to just give thanks for the persons that came before us who got us to this point, even though it might not be where we want to be, but it's a point. All right. And on that note, we're gonna call it a night for tonight. We have had a wonderful discussion on the panel. I want to thank the panelists for coming out tonight. I know sometimes the lateness, it might be a little late, right? But I want to thank you guys for coming out tonight. And we'll come back next week and continue talking about Tobago's business and current events, all right? I am Edison Thomas. I've been your host/moderator for this afternoon. I bid you adieu and have a productive week, Tobago. I'll see you next week.